And we're back.
Okay.
I'm with Pete about, so, now, I mean, the budget thing was very contentious. I mean, I know during that last week was
well, it was
quite
around the clock thing, and let me say that I had several conversations with the governor, and one of the things that concerned me was from my constituent, which is a huge amount of state employees here, and I did speak to the governor about the 5% salary reduction. The state employees were very comfortable with their furloughs, and they didn't wish any change to that. I didn't either, so representing them, that was an issue, and his budget came back eventually with a 6 furlough day and a 2.5% reduction in salaries and benefits.
Okay.
And then, of course, the other was the close of Nevada State Prison.
Yeah, that's
and the loss of those jobs out of Carson City. Yeah. And again, those are my main reasons that I eventually voted against the budget.
Yeah.
So
now, one other question I've got is, because you came from, the Carson City Supervisors to the Assembly. What effects is this new budget going to have on Carson City? Is there going to be some added expenses put on to the Carson City government that were shoved away, shoved on from the state budget?
There will be some, Kurt. I can't actually tell you everything that there is in there. But let me describe this in a sense, the process as I've seen it, okay? The process was like this. As I told you, the money committees continue to meet and add back in the budget. And one of the things that I found when I was there, different from when I was a local supervisor, and when we were supervisor, the process was, well, how much revenue we have for what we want to fund. It's a total different process from legislating. The process was, what programs we want to do and have. And then once you approve all those, and then you go look at your revenue and see, okay, how much new revenue do we need? I kind of find that kind of like an oxymoron of going shopping at Walmart and you push your grocery buggy up and it's full of toys and it's full of new clothing and things that you and your family may wish to have, but you don't have the money to pay for it. Yeah. And so that was a tough decision to see how that process took place.
Yeah.
And so I believe the people of Nevada would be better served with a discussion on revenue first, and then build your budget for the revenue. I believe that's what the governor did.
Right. So now, of course, there's when people talk about taxes versus the spending, and in the bad economy in terms of creating jobs, one of the arguments on one side was made that, well, if you cut so many positions out of state government, things like that, that you actually make the economy worse. You put people out of work. Was that a consideration too? Because obviously your constituents, a lot of them are all state workers. A good chunk of them are.
Right.
And so you seem to have been pulled in a couple different ways there.
It did concern me about the economy of Carson City and about the retention of their jobs. And as I told you, I went to the governor and I had a list of 4 things on my list I needed to talk with him about. And one of those was that issue. And again, being a realist with the money he had, and not wanting or willing to charge small businesses that are struggling and construction workers that are struggling and companies that are out of business, additional taxes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take another break right now.
Okay.
And come back. Word from our sponsor.
Visit us to compare to be sure you're treated fair. Visit Downtown Coin in Carson City for a comparable quote on your coins, currency, and unwanted gold and silver jewelry. Located at 111 West Telegraph Street. Call 883-GOLD.
And we're back talking with Pete Livermore.
Wrap this thing up here about the. We could talk for a couple of days, Kurt.
Well, there was a lot that went on during that. To tell you, one of the kind of interesting things I look at is you have the kind of the in your backyard kind of issues, because I look at like the state prison in our aspect. The state prison closing was a major thing you didn't want to see, whereas if that state prison was sitting in Ely or someplace like that, it may not have that might have been something that you'd been more comfortable having cut. And I saw that happen. Democrats, Republicans, didn't matter who it was. They're all trying to protect their own turf in a way.
I think that's natural, though, okay? Because you come from this district, and you look at the the economy of this district and what makes it go. And as always, jobs are important. That's what keeps the employment, okay, and that's what keeps. In other words, what my goal was, I wanted to make taxpayers out of tax dependents, okay,
Right.
and I want people to have jobs so they can pay their taxes and buy the things that created the taxes. That's what my goal was.
Right.
And that loss of that out there, although the people that are employed there are going to find gainful employment within the rest of the state or relocate with the prisoners there, but that annual salary is going to be lost out of this economy.
Yeah, so it hurts a
In
little.
Carson City. So.
Yeah. Now, I remember last time I had you on before the session started, or right as the session started, we had Neil Rombardo on, I think right before you, and we were talking, he was pushing the big prescription, or making Sudafed,
by the way.
yeah, making Sudafed or that kind of decongestant
yes.
prescription only.
On the meth bill.
Yeah, and I know after you got finished taping here, I think he cornered you over here at the coffee bar.
Trying to get my support for it.
Was trying that,
Right.
but he didn't get your support for it, I don't
Well-
think. Is that? And so what was your?
Well, that's not so, Kurt.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Not that he didn't get my support. It never came out of committee.
Okay.
Okay, and I never got to participate in the discussion with it. But what I understand the discussion was, and his intentions are well thought, and at least and honorable. But what is the process is you got a lot of mechanics in the economy. For example, retailers and how they do this, and the cost of those people to additional cost of labor and additional cost of programming, computer programming, all these kind of things, and the process that they typically bill with. When I saw him yesterday, I said, "You going to bring that bill back?" And he said he intended to do that. And I said, "Well, if I was you, one of the first things I would start lining up, rather than my political support, you needed to line up the support of the individuals or the companies that would have been, handicapped with that."
Yeah, because as I understand it, some of the companies were worried that they were going to drop a revenue because by making that prescription only, it would make it a little bit harder for people to get a hold of it.
Well, if you're to talk to the medical community, the doctors, what that would have forced a lot of people into physician offices for normal cold and just a sinus or a cough or an acne issue or something like that. And there's a process now where it's been documented in some states that's working where you just need to sign for the material and they track you through the back of your driver's license and things like that without a prescription. So there's other ways to do this, and the debate will continue to be on about which one is the appropriate debate of this.
Yeah. So what's the future hold for you here? I mean, what are you looking for the next? I mean, obviously you'll have there's an election coming up next year, and then after that another session. So what do you?
That's the thing. You go to the session one year, you campaign the next year. Go to the session one year, campaign the next year. Here, Kurt, let me just say, at this moment right now, I'm exploring my options.
Okay.
And I've enjoyed my first year at the legislature. It's a great learning experience. I've met a lot of super nice people over there. And there's nothing like experience if I go back that I will have under my belt and be able to even be a better assemblyman than I was this time. And so it was just a wonderful opportunity. And I don't shy away from the hours of the work. I was there every day, didn't miss any time. I didn't occur a sick day, if you want to call it that, or something like that. So it was a good experience for me.
All right. Well, and then it seems like a lot of fun over there. That last, except for that last week, it's a little tough.
That last week, I got home Monday morning about 3 o'clock Monday morning. And I had several times out of midnight, and several, especially when they did the committee of the whole.
Yeah.
And the Democrats tried something new to convince the Republicans to change their focus away from the governor's recommended budget.
Now, one of my pet peeves about this is that the 120-day limit is like a very artificial thing that at the very end you get a lot of crap that gets thrown into the end there, and that having that limit in some ways allows that stuff to go through.
Well,
some of these bills that went through with no hearings and
in
nothing.
the last 2.5 hours, there were several bills that was introduced in the Assembly, and that's behind the bar.
Right.
One of them was Assemblywoman Peggy Pierce's bill, which is Assembly Bill. It's a 122-page tax bill. Okay, she tried to introduce that bill that would have created a ballot question regarding the margin tax and the sales tax on services. And even the Democrats hadn't seen the bill. And so she had a 5-minute hearing behind the bar, got it on the docket, and eventually it was withdrawn. And then she did another bill with the TRPA bill of allowing the governor of Nevada in 2015 to make a decision whether they want to stay in TRPA or not. She amended that bill, taking the majority of the bill out, and she replaced it with a study bill of the Marlette-Hobart water system, which has been studied in TRPA. Those are some evidence of if you want to call it, political maneuvering that didn't serve the public's best interest.
Now, the one I paid attention to was the baseball stadium in Reno, and that there was a bill that came through that helped them.
Well, and that was a bill, but there were actually a bill that came very late in the session, which were called a stadium bill in Clark County.
Vegas,
But that Clark County bill even included Washoe County in a sense, whether you know that or not.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There were 3 locations for different arenas in Clark County. One at downtown, one across from Interstate 15, and one at UNLV. And both of them came with $1 billion+ plus the one downtown was about $500 million.
Yeah. So, well, hey, it's a fun time watching it happen. So, but
I'm glad you were over there to watch it. I'm glad I was there to experience it. And in the future, maybe we can talk some further about individual bills if you wish.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure speaking to the community of Carson City.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in to Our Town of Common Coffee. We'll catch you next time.
Visit us to compare to be sure you're treated fair. Visit Downtown Coin in Carson City for a comparable quote on your coins, currency, and unwanted gold and silver jewelry. Located at 111 West Telegraph Street. Call 883-GOLD.